Shedeur Sanders was supposed to be one of the biggest stars of the NFL draft, but after a humiliating slide and viral controversy, he's now speaking out against the league itself. And with fans already questioning how he was treated behind the scenes, the situation is getting even uglier. On the night of April 24th, 2025, Shedeur Sanders sat with his family, waiting for his name to be called. He was widely expected to be one of the first players chosen in the 2025 NFL Draft. ESPN's own Mel Kiper had ranked him as the second best quarterback available and predicted he would be picked in the top 5. Before the draft began that Thursday night, many expected Sanders to be selected in the first round by either the New York Giants or the Pittsburgh Steelers, who did not currently have a starting quarterback. His father, Deion Sanders, the Hall of Fame cornerback, had long contended that his son would be the #1 overall pick, or at least a top 4 pick. But one by one, teams passed. The Tennessee Titans took Cam Ward first overall. Then pick after pick rolled by in the first round. No Shedeur Sanders. The Giants, who had reportedly targeted Sanders, became so turned off during the interview process that they switched to Jackson Dart, whom they took at number 25 on day 1. The first round ended. His name was never called. Day 2 arrived and things got worse. After surprisingly falling in the first round on Thursday, fans of the former Colorado Buffaloes athlete hoped the standout player would get that coveted call. During the second or third rounds on Friday, the Cleveland Browns had picks 33 and 36. They passed on Sanders. The New Orleans Saints owned pick 40. Their current quarterback, Derek Carr, could be out with an injury, yet the Saints selected Tyler Shuff over Sanders. Then 2 picks later, the Browns looked over Sanders again, choosing Oregon's Dillon Gabriel. The Seahawks took Alabama's Jalen Milroe in the 3rd round. In all, 5 quarterbacks came off the board over the first 2 days of the draft, and Sanders was not among them. And then came the moment that turned the entire draft weekend into a spectacle no one will forget. While Shedeur Sanders was live streaming the draft on Twitch with his family and friends, he received a call from who he believed was an NFL rep. The caller was impersonating New Orleans Saints general manager Mickey Loomis. Sanders answered. You could see the hope on his face, the excitement in the room. Good, I've been waiting on you, Sanders said on the phone, but it wasn't real, it was a prank. The whole thing was broadcast live for the world to see. The embarrassing moment caught fire online. The video spread everywhere. Millions watched this young man's hopes get played with in real time. I don't know what that was, Sanders said, before revealing he had a private number for NFL personnel to contact him. Nobody's got this number though. Nobody. This is a private number. That raised a question that cut deeper than any prank. How did someone get the private phone number that the NFL itself had given to this prospect? The NFL didn't treat this like a joke. Days after the 23-year-old received the humiliating prank call on his private phone during the 2025 NFL Draft, sources close to the league told ESPN that they were looking into the matter. This wasn't just about a bad joke going viral. This was about a systemic failure, a breach in the league's own security protocols. Hours after that, the Atlanta Falcons issued a public apology, admitting that one of their coach's sons was behind the call. After coming across Sanders' number on an open iPad, the Falcons released a statement detailing exactly what happened. Earlier in the week, Jax Ulbrich, the 21-year-old son of defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich, unintentionally came across the draft contact phone number for Shedeur Sanders off an open iPad while visiting his parents' home and wrote the number down to later conduct a prank call. So a coach's son had access to confidential draft prospect information simply because an iPad was left open. That iPad contained private data that the NFL distributes to team personnel only. Phone numbers that prospects are told will be used exclusively by general managers and coaches making draft selections. The Falcons went on to say in their public statement that Jeff Ulbrich was unaware of the data exposure or any facets of the prank and was only made aware after the fact. The team said they do not condone this behavior and sent their sincere apologies to Shedeur Sanders and his family. But an apology didn't make the embarrassment disappear. This was a moment captured live in front of an enormous audience, and the NFL's own investigation brought consequences. The NFL fined the Falcons $250,000, and Jeff Ulbrich was personally docked $100,000. Jeff Ulbrich later shouldered the blame publicly. My actions of not protecting confidential data were inexcusable, Ulbrich said at a news conference at the Falcons facility. My son's actions were absolutely inexcusable, and for that, we are both deeply sorry. And Sanders wasn't the only one to fall victim to a prank during the draft. Mason Graham, the Browns' 5th overall pick, received a prank call ahead of Cleveland's number 5 selection. His father confirmed the situation. Tyler Warren, drafted by the Colts at number 14, was also reportedly prank called while the Jets were on the clock for the number 7 pick. The impersonators behind those prank calls were never publicly identified or caught. But it was the Sanders incident that drew the most scrutiny because it happened on camera, because of his profile, and because of just how deeply humiliating the entire weekend had been for him. The online reaction was fierce. People who didn't even consider themselves Shedeur Sanders fans voiced their anger. One person wrote, "I'm not the biggest Shedeur fan, but they dead wrong for doing this." You could see they were genuinely excited. Another posted, "Nothing about this is funny. It's just hateful." Some went even further, alleging that the way the NFL was making an example out of Shedeur felt racially motivated. When Sanders was finally drafted, selected by the Cleveland Browns with the 144th overall pick in the 5th round, he addressed the prank call with a measured tone. "It didn't really have an impact on me," Sanders said, "because it was just like, okay, like I don't feed into negativity or I don't feed into that stuff." He called the prank childish and moved on. But the story was far from over. The prank call was only the visible tip of a much larger iceberg. Long before draft weekend, a coordinated drip of anonymous criticism had been circulating throughout the NFL's insider ecosystem, designed, whether intentionally or not, to obliterate Shedeur Sanders' draft stock. It started at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. Sanders attended, but did not work out at the 2025 NFL Scouting Combine, though he was one of the most talked about prospects coming out of the event. He met with teams, and afterward, the whisper campaign began in earnest. One quarterback's coach, whose team was picking in the top 7, claimed Sanders came off as brash and arrogant, according to NFL insider Josina Anderson. Todd McShay, a longtime draft analyst, also said he heard from 2 teams that felt Sanders didn't care what they thought of him during the interview process, in a way that wasn't a professional approach. Then, just before the draft's opening round, the most devastating blow landed. An anonymous NFL assistant coach told NFL Network's Tom Pelissero that his interview with Sanders was the worst formal interview I've ever been in my life. "He's so entitled. He takes unnecessary sacks. He never plays on time. He has horrible body language. He blames teammates. But the biggest thing is he's not that good." Every criticism, every characterization, all published without a name attached. After the draft, CBS Sports NFL insider Jonathan Jones added more context. He reported that sources told him Sanders more or less sandbagged interviews with teams that he didn't want to draft him. Jones said Sanders did not give it his all during some of the meetings, which rubbed some teams the wrong way. An unnamed NFL team executive told The Athletic that he believed Sanders approached these visits with teams as a recruiting trip versus a job interview. The same executive suggested that Sanders' refusal to hire an agent to represent him in an official capacity acted as a detriment. The picture painted by these anonymous voices was damning. A young man who didn't respect the process, who believed the NFL should court him rather than the other way around. Sanders, in the assessment of the general manager, treated the pre-draft process as if he was being recruited, not as if he was being interviewed. But there was another side to this story. Former Colorado offensive coordinator Pat Shedeur, a 2-time NFL head coach who actually worked with Sanders, pushed back. "He's a wonderfully unique human being," Shedeur said he told NFL clubs. "He's got a big heart, I think of him actually. In our conversations as being somewhat shy." Super Bowl winning wide receiver Keyshawn Johnson had a problem with someone's attitude too, but not Shedeur's. Johnson pointed at the coaches saying, "You get these coaches that are not accustomed to dealing with individuals at this position that have a certain snap, crackle, pop to them. They want him to be something that he's not." Former NFL lineman Mark Schlereth reminded everyone, "People said he'd be a 2nd rounder, and he turned out to be one of the best quarterbacks in his rookie class." And former NFL player Emmanuel Acho made a historical comparison that no one could argue with. Remember 1989, the New York Giants wanted to interview Deion Sanders. Deion said, "Where do you y'all pick at?" They said in the 17 range. Deion Sanders said, "Oh, I'm going to be long gone before y'all ever pick." And he walked up out of the room. Apple, tree. The confidence that NFL teams condemned in the son was the exact same confidence they celebrated in the father. You cannot tell the story of Shedeur Sanders' draft humiliation without talking about his father's role in it. It was widely believed that Deion Sanders effectively served as the quarterback's informal advisor during the draft process. Where most top quarterback prospects hire seasoned agents with deep NFL relationships and decades of experience navigating the draft landscape, the Sanders family took a different path. Deion had been vocal, arguably too vocal, about his expectations. On the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast back in March 2024, Deion said plainly, "I know where I want them to go. There's certain cities where it ain't going to happen. It's going to be an Eli Manning. We ain't doing that." He was referring to both Shedeur and his other son, Shiloh. He was openly declaring that certain NFL cities would not be acceptable destinations for his sons. In the NFL, where teams hold the power to select players, not the other way around. Those words carried seismic weight. Deion clearly misjudged his power and Sanders' talent repeatedly. When an anonymous NFL quarterbacks coach said in March that Sanders came off as arrogant at the combine, Deion threatened to expose that person. That response began to close the feedback loop between teams and NFL insiders, trying to get a realistic sense of where Shedeur might land. The information channels went dark. The family was operating blind. And even as reality set in during draft night, the disconnect persisted. As shown on broadcasts, Deion watched expectantly when the Saints were on the clock at 9th overall, though multiple reports indicated that New Orleans wouldn't take a quarterback there. When Shedeur finally went to the Browns in the 5th round, Deion told USA Today he felt like the draft coverage of his son had been venomous. The Anscape reporter William C. Roden, covering the 2026 NFL Draft in Pittsburgh, crystallized what the entire saga meant in the broader context of the league. Sanders' slide was a message from the NFL to draft classes to come. No one is larger than the league, and no one is bigger than the game. For many gatekeepers, Sanders epitomized everything they found corruptive about the new college game. Newly liberated players free to transfer and free to make millions in name, image, and likeness deals. Sanders was more boisterous than most, wearing expensive chains around his neck, driving luxury cars on campus, and by many accounts taking a casual, almost dismissive attitude toward his interviews with NFL team executives. Hall of Fame quarterback Warren Moon, who himself went undrafted and played in Canada, before having a Hall of Fame NFL career, monitored Sanders' journey. "I think what hurt Shedeur was not so much his ability, but just kind of the way he handled himself." Moon said, "All the attention he brought to himself, most organizations didn't want to deal with that, of the entire ordeal. It wasn't his play on the field because his play on the field, it's good. It's not great, but it's good, and he didn't fall in the draft because of his talent." Daniel added that in the NFL, you have to kiss the ring a little bit. You got to play the game a little bit. Well, Shedeur Sanders and his camp, they did not. And the ripple effects of Sanders' fall didn't just damage him. Will Howard, the Pittsburgh Steelers rookie quarterback, openly discussed how Sanders' surprising fall created a chain reaction that affected the entire group of incoming quarterbacks. Howard said on the Christian Kuntz podcast, "It was really that whole Shedeur situation kinda. Him sliding really hurt a lot of the other quarterbacks in our class, just because he was ranked a little higher. So nobody wanted to take guys like me, or Riley Leonard, or Kyle McCord, Quinn Ewers. Once Sanders came off the board in the 5th round, the logjam broke. Kyle McCord, Howard, and Riley Leonard were all selected within the same 10 picks in the 6th round. The fall of Shedeur Sanders froze an entire position group. It sent a shockwave through the draft that changed outcomes for multiple players, multiple teams, and multiple careers. After everything, the slide, the prank call, the anonymous attacks, the fines, the investigations, Shedeur Sanders showed up in Cleveland and did what he was supposed to do. He played football. It wasn't easy. Sanders began the 2025 campaign as the Browns' 3rd-string quarterback, behind Joe Flacco and Dillon Gabriel. He was 4th on the depth chart throughout training camp and the preseason. The 23-year-old was 4th string before 2 trades and rookie Dillon Gabriel's concussion catapulted Sanders. The Browns started the year with Joe Flacco under center, dealt him to the Bengals, then gave their next 6 starts to Gabriel. The Browns were 2-8 and had only 7 games left when the team finally gave Sanders a shot under center. Early on, when he was still 3rd string, Sanders made headlines for his unfiltered honesty. He told reporters, "I know if you see the quarterback play in the league right now, I know I'm capable of doing better than that." That kind of confidence from a 5th-round rookie sitting 3rd on the depth chart raised eyebrows. When the media came back the following week looking for more quotable moments, Sanders responded differently. He pantomimed his answers, giving completely silent responses to questions about the quarterback change. He had learned quickly the cost of speaking your mind in the NFL, but when he finally got his chance to play, he showed exactly what he could do on the field. In just his third career NFL start, Sanders delivered a historic performance: 364 passing yards, 3 touchdown passes, and a rushing score against the Tennessee Titans. No Browns player in franchise history had ever combined 300-plus passing yards, 3 touchdown throws, and a rushing touchdown in the same game. He joined Joe Burrow as the only rookie quarterbacks ever to produce at least 350 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and a rushing score in a single game. His overall rookie numbers were not pretty. He finished with a 3-4 record in 7 starts, a 56.6% completion percentage, 1,400 passing yards, 7 passing touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and 1 rushing touchdown. Of the 36 quarterbacks with at least 200 passing attempts in 2025, Sanders ranked last in completion percentage, passer rating, adjusted yards per attempt, and adjusted net yards per attempt. He was raw. He was learning. His processing was too slow. His drops were too slow, and he often took too long to get the ball out of his hands. But the flashes were undeniable. The Browns, despite starting him last, despite passing on him twice during the draft, despite picking another quarterback 2 rounds ahead of him, named him the starter for the final 4 games. And then came the most ironic twist of the entire saga. Shedeur Sanders' abbreviated rookie season ended with a Pro Bowl bid. He was added to the Pro Bowl games roster as a replacement for Drake May, who couldn't participate ahead of the Patriots' Super Bowl appearance. He became the first Browns quarterback to make the Pro Bowl since Derek Anderson in 2008, the same league that let him get humiliated on national television, that gave anonymous coaches a platform to tear him apart, that watched as he slid 139 picks below projections. That same league invited him to its showcase event as a rookie. Sanders said in a statement, "Thank you, God. I'm beyond excited and extremely grateful for all the love and support from the coaches, players, and fans. This wouldn't be possible without the support behind me. Still plenty of work to do." And the NFL's reckoning didn't stop there. Ahead of the 2026 NFL Draft in Pittsburgh, the league announced it would limit access to prospects' contact information to 1 person with each franchise. A league spokesman told The Athletic the relevant contact information will be provided by the league to a single point of contact at the club and football operations. This individual will be responsible for safeguarding the numbers. That rule exists because of Shedeur Sanders. The messy aftermath of at least 3 prank calls from the 2025 draft forced the NFL to make a critical change to how it protects its incoming players. A fan even filed a $100 million lawsuit against the NFL, claiming discrimination and collusion led to Sanders' fall. The lawsuit, filed in federal court in Atlanta by an anonymous plaintiff, accused the NFL of violating the Sherman Antitrust Act, the Civil Rights Act, and consumer protection laws. Whether that suit goes anywhere is beside the point. The fact that it was filed tells you how deeply people believe Sanders was wronged. And as for Shedeur himself, in April 2026, back in Cleveland for off-season workouts, he made his position clear. "Respectfully, I just don't want to talk about last year, because it doesn't help us move forward." Sanders said, "We not in last year no more. We in this year." He reflected on everything with a single phrase: "I'm thankful that everything happened how it happened." He described himself as bulletproof, and perhaps that's the real exposure. The NFL tried to send a message to Shedeur Sanders that no one is bigger than the league, but Shedeur sent one right back. He absorbed every hit, the slide, the prank, the anonymous destruction of his character, the 4th-string demotion, and came out the other end standing. The league itself had to change its rules because of what happened to him. His dramatic fall hovers over the 2026 draft, a permanent reminder that the lessons of Shedeur Sanders' NFL draft story are varied and broadly applicable, but they may not be what the teams wanted them to be. Now heading into his 2nd season, Sanders faces a quarterback competition, with Deshaun Watson and Dylan Gabriel under new head coach Todd Monken. He said of the new coaching regime, "It's a new vibe, it's a new energy. Coach just spoke life into me. And then when you do that, you just get the best result for me." Whether Shedeur Sanders becomes a franchise quarterback or a cautionary tale, one thing is already settled. The NFL humiliated him publicly, and he forced the league to answer for it. The rules changed, the fines were paid, the apologies were issued, and the young man everyone tried to bury, he's still here. And he's not done talking.